Dana with Coach Dana Inspires.com and Craig Lowder with Smooth Selling Forever. So we are super excited to have you here on Business Inspiration every Tuesday morning at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And here we are. Craig, we have known each other for several years, and I am so happy that you're here today with us, and you're going to be talking about, is virtual selling, really the new norm? So this is a pretty exciting topic, I think, especially in this time of COVID and everything that's going on. So tell me just real quickly, how are you? How's your business? How's the family? How are things?
Well, first of all, Dana, thank you for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak and see you again. Family is doing fabulous. We're all healthy and we remain healthy. Quite frankly, business has been very good. Through the first 6 months of the year, our revenues were up 62% and our net income was up 109%. I hate to say it, but primarily due to virtual selling. More productive.
All right. And virtual selling. You're pretty doggone good at this. So you were a little step ahead of the game, I would say.
Yes, and this pandemic has really accelerated the growth towards virtual selling.
Yeah. So how do you see businesses, what's the business climate now? I kind of put it into the first few months of this COVID thing was, oh, it'll be done in a few months. We'll be back to work. Everything will be back to normal. And now we're in a, whatever that normal might be. I tend to call it our new reality and not the new normal, because I was never normal to begin with. So what do you see the business climate being as we move into this next phase?
I had an article published a couple of weeks ago, and virtual selling is not new. It's been around for over a century and has really jumped into the limelight decades ago. So think of catalogs, late night infomercials, telemarketers, inside and outside sales teams. With inside sales teams, that's virtual selling, and it's been around for decades. And because of this COVID-19, it is the impetus for more and more virtual selling, and it is the norm.
And I'm so glad you said a catalog. I would have never in my life thought of a catalog as being virtual selling, but obviously that is. And so that's very interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, and I hope other people were maybe they were more aware than I was, but that's great. Thank you so much for saying that, because that is very, very true. We all remember how long has the Sears catalog been around? Forever. Of course, right now there's some youngins listening to this saying, "What's a Sears catalog?" And I won't talk to them right now. So, what can you see entrepreneurs and business owners doing right now to move forward in this situation that we're living through?
A great question. And the business climate has changed, and then I'm going to segue into what should entrepreneurs be doing now. Business overall has slowed down a bit. The focus has been on retaining and growing relationships with existing clients. It has become harder to close new business or acquire new clients in a virtual selling environment. Additionally, the sales process has gotten longer. There are more folks involved in the buying decision, and companies and organizations are making sure that they make an informed buying decision, and their buying decisions are based on those things that they really need to invest money and resources in today. If it's discretionary, it's being put off. What does that mean to the entrepreneur and the small business owners? Number one, continue to do business development. Number two, make sure that you are focusing on your existing clients in order to continue to retain their business, meaning they just don't stop investing in you. And secondly, look for opportunities where you can do more business with them, but really focus on those non-discretionary expenses, something that they need to invest in now to continue to grow their sales.
Oh, wow, super. That's fabulous. And so this virtual selling, this is going to be, no matter what happens in the new reality that we're facing, virtual selling is going to be going on for a long time. Is that your opinion?
Yeah, and I absolutely, and I've heard it's either referred to as the new norm or the next norm, but there's a very broad consensus out there that this is here to stay. And there are benefits both on the selling side and the buying side to perpetuate, if not invest more in virtual selling.
Okay, well, that is perfect. Tell me, what are the benefits? Why should I care? Why should our viewers care and really dig into virtual selling?
Let's look at it from the buyer side first, because that's what's most important.
Mm-hmm.
Buyers are more productive in identifying and vetting candidate vendors or relationships. They are able to bring in more people in their organization into the decision process. For example, you schedule a 1-hour meeting. There's someone who needs to participate in maybe 10 minutes of that meeting, but they may not be willing to pull somebody across the plant floor or away from their office for just 10 minutes. And they will just say, hey, Dana, dial in at 10:15. We need your input for 10 minutes. And they come into a virtual meeting, they give their input, and they leave. So what they're doing, I think the primary takeaways from them are, it's a more productive use for their time. They're vetting their options better, and they're ending up making more informed business decisions.
Super. Wow. And that seems so true, because so often when we had to fly across the country to make a presentation, and then someone who you were going to meet or who was going to be part of that meeting had an emergency, came up sick, things happen. And now you've flown across the country or driven 8 hours to have a meeting and no decision could be made. So I think that's a virtual meeting. You can always just say, well, not today, we'll do it tomorrow. And it's very little, no harm done with that. So what are the benefits to the sellers in this?
Productivity gains. They're able to spend more times in front of their customer and their prospects. If we think about what's happened in the past, we've had to commute to those sites, and where we might have an hour meeting, we may have to commute for 45 minutes or an hour before and then after to get to our next meeting. In this virtual selling environment, and that's what I'm finding, I can go from meeting to meeting to meeting with maybe a 5-minute gap in between. So from a seller's perspective, there's an opportunity for tremendous productivity gains. Secondly, cost savings. How much does it cost to have a virtual meeting versus what you just said, Dana, flying across the country? And we know that the financial people within seller organizations are going to look at this and go, this saves us a lot of money. This is the primary reason why my sales have grown 62% and my net profits has grown 109%, because I've reduced the amount of money that I'm spending in making sales and customer delivery calls. And bottom line, for a seller, because it is so convenient and you're able to get more people involved in the decision process quickly, it can result in shorter sales cycles.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes great sense. Great sense. I just need to ask this question here out of the blue. I am a very people person, and you are too. So do you find that virtual selling, that you're missing or losing a bit of that interpersonal connection when you sell, or do you think it's just as personal that as before?
I don't think it's quite as personal, Dana, because there's a tendency on the front end to shorten the let's talk time and how's the family doing, et cetera, et cetera. It still happens, but it's abbreviated. There's less time invested on that. So I think that the selling process needs to incorporate in-person meetings with virtual meetings. And one of the challenges that we have as sellers is taking a look at the buyer journey and making sure that the journey that our buyers are taking, we're able to match up our sales processes to integrate properly with the buying cycle.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, because again, for me, that's one thing I miss so much is being out there and seeing and meeting, and especially, like keynotes. One thing that I loved about keynotes is being there, and I don't wait till 5 minutes before I went on stage before I get to the room. I get there early and talk and visit with people, get some inside information, some names, some insights, and then you could pop that into your keynote. And it's difficult when you're giving a virtual presentation to a group to have some of that information. You can still do it. There's ways around it, but there's nothing, to me, there's nothing like being in person and getting that bit of face-to-face time. So I do miss that, but I can see I'm writing down all these benefits to the buyers and the sellers, and yeah, I think you have virtually sold me on it. That's for sure. So what do the sellers need to consider to really become effective at this virtual selling thing?
That's a great question. 6 things. Number 1, they need to take a look at the buyer journey and how they go about making an informed decision. So step by step, determining what that buyer journey is, what can be done virtually and what really needs to be done face to face. Once you understand the buyer journey, you need to take a look at your selling process to make sure the selling process mirrors the buyer journey. You also need to take a look at your messaging, because your messaging to your customer is now focused on immediate actions they need to take, non-discretionary expenditures, with the whole idea of making sure that they understand that you can be of benefit to them today. Technology, virtual selling, you've got to have the right technology, whether it's the right lighting, it's the right video capabilities, it's the right audio capabilities, and even to the point of having a teleprompter or cheat sheets in front of you. But you really need to take a look at and ask yourself the question, based upon my target audience, what technology do I need to have in place to effectively sell? Because there's a new term that's being coined. It's called Zoomer virtual selling fatigue. Because there is a little gap between meetings, people are going from meeting to meeting to meeting. And if you don't have the right technology, our eyes get tired, our ears get sore, and we have a tendency to check out. So subsequently, your meeting cadence, which is number 3, needs, number 4 actually, buyer journey, technology, messaging, your meeting cadence, number 4, needs to change. There's more frequent meetings and shorter meetings. We're finding that virtual meetings ideally are going to go no more than 45 minutes. Some can go as long as 75 minutes if you have a large group and there's a lot of interaction, but people get tired. And what do they do when they get tired? They can be on a virtual selling session, but they can also be checking emails and doing texting, etc. And 5th, because there is an opportunity to increase our activity levels because we're more productive, more efficient in connecting with one another, We need to take a look at our sales success scorecards, those activity metrics that we're measuring to determine if we're doing enough of the right activities well in order to generate the results that we're seeking. So the number of calls, the number of leads, the number of opportunities, the number of meetings that you may have as targeted need to go up, because it's much easier to hold these meetings now. And then finally, number 6 is people. Do you have the right people in the right seats? And are they accepting and capable of using virtual technology? I'm finding with some of my clients, we're going through that right now, where some folks are not technologically or digitally oriented, and they're either afraid of it or they just refuse to learn it. And hard decisions have to be made as to where they fit in the organization, if at all, if we believe that virtual selling is here to stay, and the only thing that's going to happen, there's going to be more of it in the years ahead.
Wow, those are great points that we can all take away. And if any of the viewers missed any of those points, this is being recorded and it'll be up on my YouTube channel, and I will repost. So wow, those are great points, and I really appreciate that, Craig. And I think it's things that we can all certainly put into action. And I'm going to make a little plug. You wrote a book, didn't you, about smooth sailing forever? Is that correct?
Close. Smooth selling forever.
Selling.
And,
I always want to say sailing. Selling.
well, that's the metaphor in the book.
Ta-da.
Smooth sailing and smooth selling, because to be successful at winning America's Cup, you have to have the right strategy, like in sales. You have to have the right equipment or tools, and you have to have the right crew or people to win.
Perfect. I love that. I love that. So that's such a great metaphor. It's really super. For any of our listeners and viewers who are interested in contacting Craig, we have this. We have his information, and I'll tell you, Craig. Every time, there you go. Ta-da! Here is Craig Lowder's information. Craig at smoothsellingforever.com. There's his phone number. So if you have any questions about this virtual selling situation that he's talking about, please reach out to Craig. He is fabulous, easy to work with, and even a nice guy. So, and here's my information. If I don't, weird, nice guy. And this is my information. So if I can be of service to you out there, let me know how I can help you, how I can be of service to you. And Craig, we just have a minute or two left, but do you have just one little snippet that you can just toss us out there for an ending word of advice?
Status quo. If you're stuck in the status quo, you're going to lose. Business environments change, and this is a good example where business environments have changed. You have to be receptive to getting out of the status quo, and those that are going to be most successful are the ones that realize that virtual selling is here to stay. How can I best leverage virtual selling so that I am successful?
Super. Wow. That's great advice. I took notes. Like I said, I've got a little list here of things that you said, and I can't wait to revisit the video and pump up those notes a little better. Thank you, Craig, so much. I really appreciate your time, your friendship, and just the work you do and getting out there and serving the people out there trying to do their jobs. And thank you so much. And tell your beautiful bride hello for me. And until the next time on Tuesdays, Business Inspiration, 11:15 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll see you later. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you for having me on.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.